Asking Alexandria. Chapter 7. As soon as his lips departed from hers, she looked into his dark brown eyes. Ben, Alexandria started to say. He just shakes his head and put a finger to her lips. Don't tell Violet, he says as he caresses her face. Alexandria stood up and began to walk away, 2 steps from him. Ben, I'm not going behind my friend's back like that. He chuckled and stood up and walked over to her. Once he had reached her, he cupped her face in his hands. You actually believe what she said? She put you in jail just so she could have me. I didn't find out until after I married her. I had a lot of restless nights knowing I couldn't wait for you anymore. Alexandria looked at him dead in the eye. She wanted to see if he was lying. You were waiting for me? He nodded. Then why did you walk out as soon as I was sentenced? He sighed and ran his fingers through his hair, and he started to pace. Ben, you're going to make me say it, aren't you? Say what? He laughed and sat back down on the couch. Ben, what are you talking about? You act as if you were insane. Not that she minded. She knew she was insane herself. Just never mind. Ben, why don't you just divorce Violet? I wish it was that simple. She rolled her eyes. She thinks I'm getting something right now. Not here. Alexandria walked over to him on the couch and sat next to him. She sighed. She really didn't know how she felt about Ben. She looked over at Ben and said, Ben, what is it you need to say? Ben casually stood up and walked out. Alexandria followed him. Ben! Ben! She called after him. She jogged up to him to catch up. And as soon as she was behind him, he turned around and kissed her passionately. When he pulled away, he looked her in the eyes and said, I love you, and only you. Then he walked away, leaving Alexandria to stand there in shock. She turned around slowly and walked back into her home. Did she hear him correctly? The Ben Bruce loves her, not his wife, who was her best friend. She walked back into the house and sighed, and threw herself on the couch. She never asked for this life, or any life in particular. She just sat there, staring off into the distance, when the buzz of her phone snapped her out of her thoughts. She grabbed her phone and looked at the message she had just received. It was from Violet, saying, Do you know where Ben is? He left an half hour ago. He should have been back by now. Alexandria, you kept my number? She responded. Violet, yeah, I did. Alexandria thought for a second. Should she tell her that he was just here or lie to her? She clutched her phone tightly in her hand and stared at the ground for quite some time. She took a deep breath and replied to her. No, I haven't seen him. She didn't respond. She felt bad for lying to her friend that way. But if what Ben said was true, she deserved to be lied to. She rested on the couch until a loud banging noise occurred at the door. It startled her and made her jump 3 feet in the air. Finally, the person broke down the door and stumbled in. To her horror, it was her father. What are you doing here? He didn't say anything, just stared at her. Alexandria stood there, awkwardly, not knowing what to say or do. He slowly began to stagger towards her. She had no idea of what was about to happen. She slowly began to back away, but stopped when her back hit the wall. She could tell just by the way he was walking he was drunk. But coming out from prison, this was the last thing she wanted. She scrunched down in a ball as her father approached her. She didn't try screaming for help. It would only cause her to get hit. She just let him remove her clothing piece by piece and let her mind focus on something besides the pain.